Fast and violent, man. Play in and play out. We're going to play with speed. We're going to play confident. We're going to have some swag. Talk a little shit. The most important piece to all of this are players who are all back there. They're going to pop off the tape. The energy, the juice, the speed, the violence. You're going to feel it from the living room. Sitting on your couch, you'll be able to feel this football team. Can't wait to work with y'all, man. It's going to be freaking fun. We're going to bring a championship home, and it's going to start with you guys.
Welcome everyone to the Music City Audible Live, MCA Live, a Tennessee Titans podcast. I am your host, Justin Graver, full-time NFL podcast producer for Odyssey. And joining me as always, my co-host, the managing editor of Titan Sized, among other full-time writing positions, it's the Yada Yada King, Justin Melo. We are live. Excited to be back on with you guys. Let's get some questions, some thought starters going in the chat. We'll get to as many of those as we have time for today. But first, Justin, a little bit of housekeeping we need to do. As you can see, our show looks a little bit different. I've kind of spruced up these boxes a little bit because, and we are very, very excited to announce this. We have a new partner. A new partner who's going to help us grow the show. We are thrilled to announce our partnership with Red Circle. So thanks to Michael, Ellie, Paige, everyone over there on the Red Circle team for getting us going. You may have noticed already, if you are an audio podcast listener, that there are advertisements now in the podcast. So yes, you will now notice the ads appearing for the audio version of the pod in a little bit. Justin and I will start doing some reads that will go in the video and audio show. A very exciting time here for us. The Music City Audible, we're taking off. You're all along for the ride. We're super pumped about it. Justin, how you doing today?
I haven't told Red Circle this yet, but I plan on reading all the ads like Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights. Like, I don't know how that's going to go over, but I'm literally crossing my fingers and praying for a Big Red chewing gum so I could do the Big Red chewing gum. If you don't like it, that's what I'm really hoping for the Red Circle partnership. I'm going to read them all like Ricky Bobby, folks. Partnership's probably not going to last long. First curse word, and we are out. But no, all kidding aside, really excited to announce a partnership with Red Circle. They approached us, made us an offer we can't refuse, if you will. True Godfather style fashion. On the day of my daughter's wedding, they came through with the offer. This is Music City Audible Live, folks. Appreciate you guys for joining in.
To answer this question from Curtis 0077, no, we are not going to be doing a song like the This Is Our Team Colts superfan Scotty, who does the songs all the time. But you may have also noticed just now, we do have a new intro song. That will be our live stream intro song. The recorded podcasts will have a different intro song because part of this new deal with Red Circle means, unfortunately, we cannot use copyrighted music, and I Got a Woman by Nicholas Jar, our old intro song, very much copyrighted. So we're still getting used to the new song. I know many of you guys are going to be bummed not to hear that song anymore. I've listened to many podcasts in my day, and when they change the intro music, it's like, whoa, what is this new show I'm listening to? So apologies, just give it a little time. I think everyone will grow to love it. We'll all get used to it over time. So Justin, let's get into it. The Titans coaching staff has finally been announced. This was not going to be our topic today. I scheduled this live stream yesterday afternoon, called it, How Should Titans Approach NFL Free Agency? And then a few hours later, it's like, we don't even have to record a podcast now to actually initiate news happening. All we have to do is schedule the next day's podcast, and bang, like a week and a half later than I expected it to come out, the Titans just dropped their entire coaching staff. Now, we did call this, Justin. We did say we're not going to get a report on every single position coach and assistant coach. It's just going to be Jim Wyatt tweeting, here's the Titans coaching staff. That's exactly what happened. Let's take a look at it. This is a note from Paul Kaharski. Oh, I lost Justin. 1 second. There you are. This is a note from Paul Kaharski. A few things we didn't know about the new coaching staff that came out yesterday. Ben Bloom, who was the linebackers coach last year, remains as a senior defensive assistant. We knew Tony Oden was being retained as the cornerbacks coach. He is also going to have the defensive pass game coordinator title. Travis Smith was on last year's staff as the defensive run game coordinator. He will remain, again, in a different role, senior defensive assistant / and this really intrigues me, pass rush specialist. Raina Stewart, who worked with Bones Fossil in Dallas, came over to the Titans with him last year, remains as a special teams assistant. Isaac Williams is the assistant offensive line coach, and I also really am intrigued by this last one. Rob Daydona is chief of staff. Chief of staff, what a cool title, Justin.
That is a really interesting staff. And shout out to Ritma in the comments, who just said his wife yells, "Is that Justin Melo?" The Titans guys, I love the dedication from all the family members who watch this show. A couple of notes here. Because I'm picky, I'm going to offer a slight correction. Ben Bloom last year, I believe, was outside linebackers coach, right? Because he had more of the pass rushers. It was Frank Bush who was the linebackers coach. He's now a senior defensive assistant. I liked Ben Bloom. I thought he was good in that role, so I'm glad he is staying. Tony Oden, I believe that's the same role he had last year. It's just not being changed by Robert Saleh. He was defensive pass game coordinator along with corners coach, so that's the same. Travis Smith, another good coach they had on the staff, who stays here as a pass rush specialist. I mean, this is a role that other teams around the NFL have. So, I mean, Titans aren't a great pass rushing team. So anything they can do to kind of help get better in that department, I'm in favor of. That pretty much does it for the excitement surrounding these hires. But there were a couple others, some new additions that I think we're about to get into.
Yes, first I'd like to point out, as we look through the photos that the Titans official social media team tweeted out, this is like the main coaching staff, the heads of sides of the ball. We got 3 balds on this picture. If we look at the offensive staff and special team staff, we have 3 balds on this picture. And finally, the defensive staff, we have 3 balds on this picture. So 9 balds out of 3, 3, and 3. 9 balds out of 21 coaches. Look, I'll be honest, I expected the rate to be a little higher. I was hoping for more like 13, 14 balds. Yeah. But we'll take 9. It's still got to be, a league leader in some respect in that category. But we do have a few notes. You mentioned that some of the other new hires that were announced, and I think a couple of them had Titans fans a little bit in a tizzy. The first one I want to talk about is Ahmed Saleh, who was actually announced. We got a report on this one before the Titans dropped the whole staff. He is Robert Saleh's cousin. I'm sure you recognize the Saleh name. And is this a little bit of nepotism? Sure it is. Every single job in the world relies on nepotism, not just the NFL community. Literally every industry in the world. You get jobs because of because of the people you know. That's just how it works. It's no different here. I'm not going to get upset about it unless Ahmed Saleh turns out to be an incompetent boob. Like, from all accounts, this guy is a well-qualified coach to come in as a defensive assistant. Like, let's be clear, that's a very low level, right? Quality control, I think. Quality control, low level coach. He's going to be going through tape. He's going to be sorting out tendencies and schemes and reporting that to people above him. And his path is very interesting. He started as an undergraduate assistant. Then he was a defensive graduate assistant. Then he was a special teams coordinator and defensive backs coach at Madonna University. Then he was a defensive coordinator. Then he was a safeties coach. And he spent the last 2 years as a special teams coordinator / linebacker coach. So he's coached across the defense, DBs, safeties, linebackers. He's defensive coordinated. He's special teams coordinated, all at the college level, at colleges you've probably never heard of or maybe only casually slightly heard of. Now, what's interesting about Ahmed Saleh is that he has done 2 different Bill Walsh Diversity Fellowships. If you don't know what that is, it's like a program that was started to help minority coaches get a chance to experience some NFL coaching, get NFL coaching experience, basically, so that they can have a better resume and actually get position jobs in the
opportunities, right?
Exactly. So he did 2 of those, and this is a grueling application process. You got to fill out a whole bunch of forms, write about yourself, get recommendations, interview, and then the teams decide whether or not they're going to hire you. It's basically like an internship. So you got to do a lot to get this position. He did 1 with the 49ers. Now, I know what you're thinking. Robert Saleh probably helped him. Well, Robert Saleh probably did help him, but it was 2021. Robert Saleh was not in San Francisco anymore. And his second one was with the Packers in 2024. Oh, I know what you're thinking. Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur are best friends. He probably helped him. Yeah, he probably did help him. Whatever. He got really good exposure from those two opportunities. This is his first actual NFL coaching job, but again, low level quality control. I don't have anything bad to say about the hire. I don't have anything good to say, but like he's got a nice resume. Can
I be blunt? I'm going to be honest with you, okay? And I'm just going to say this, and it might not be popular, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just think there's a little bit of hypocrisy that's probably going to go on here. And I think that's because we're excited about Robert Saleh being a first-year head coach, and we want to root for him, and we don't want to say anything bad about him. Now, quality control coach is so low level that I do not really care, to be honest with you. I do not really care. Were there people who were probably better suited for this job? Absolutely there were. Wayne State, where Ahmed Saleh is currently coaching, not exactly a factory to the NFL. People don't go from Wayne State to the NFL. He's going from Wayne State to the NFL because he's Robert Saleh's cousin, right? Now, I know that's how the NFL works. I have said for years that's how the NFL works. And now we're going to get to a linebackers coach in a second that also appears to be somewhat of a nepotism hire here in Tennessee. All I'm saying is the same people who were like dogging Mike Vrabel for loyalty to the staff and nepotism are probably okay with this because they don't want to criticize Robert Saleh yet because he's new. Now, answer me this, and this is all I mean by this. If Ahmed Saleh is hired 1 year from now, coming off a 4-13 Titan season, do you think the response is the same? Or is the response, people will have soured a little bit on Robert Saleh by then? I guarantee you the response. If Brian Callahan hired his cousin last offseason, the response isn't, well, it's okay. It's how the NFL works. No, we're giving him grace right now because we don't want to criticize him because we're so excited about him. That's fine. I'm just calling it how it is.
I think that's fair, but I also think the other side of it that we've seen certain Titans reporters do on Twitter already is also unfair to just immediately be like, we love PK's work. PK does great work, but he's also been like taking this to task, and especially the Dave Borgonzi hire, which we'll talk. That's the one I want to get to next, which like it is what it is. I agree with you that, I am inclined to see this in the positive light because I'm looking at these guys' resumes. We did get a report. Let's just move on to Dave Borgonzi. Dave Borgonzi is a linebackers coach. Mike Borgonzi's brother, who coached with Aaron Whitecotton last year with the Dallas Cowboys, or was it last year? He was with I don't know if he was there last year. Sorry, he did coach with Aaron.
It was last year. He was with the Cowboys last year.
Okay, thank you. He actually entered the NFL coaching with the Dallas Cowboys in 2011 as a defensive assistant, and I bring that up to note that Matt Eberflus was the Cowboys linebackers coach in 2011. Borgonzi spent time on the offensive side of the ball in 2013 as an offensive assistant, then defensive quality control with Tampa Bay for the next 4 seasons. Eberflus gets the Colts defensive coordinator job in 2018, one of his first hires. Dave Borgonzi as his linebackers coach. This is his first time elevated into the position coach role from quality control and other assistant roles. He's with Eberflus in Indianapolis until Eberflus gets the head coaching job in Chicago. And then he brings Dave Borgonzi with him again as the linebackers coach. Borgonzi was there at the same time that Eberflus was there. Eberflus gets fired, gets hired as the defensive coordinator back in Dallas for last season. And guess what? Dave Borgonzi follows Matt Eberflus again. So, yes, Mike Borgonzi's brother is hired. Is this like a next level move by Robert Saleh, who's like, hey, Mike, if you ever fire me, you're probably firing the whole staff too, right? Well, that's your brother. You don't want to do that? Maybe. But it's also, I think, I think it was PK even, somebody reported yesterday that Mike Borgonzi removed himself from this process and said, Robert, hire the best staff you can hire, at least when it came to his Mike Borgonzi's own brother. The fact that a guy like Matt Eberflus, who you can laugh at Matt Eberflus because he was a failure of a head coach, he's always been a bright defensive mind. He was a rising star when he became the Colts defensive coordinator. And he plucked Dave Borgonzi out as like the guy who's going to follow him from spot to spot to spot. Like that, to me, is a plus. It shows that he impressed somebody to the point where they didn't want to go take a new job and coach a new team without bringing him with them. So, look, you can say it's nepotism all you want, and it is. It certainly can't say that it's not. but I also think that Dave Borgonzi is a very qualified and a pretty good linebackers coach based, again, on his history.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm not as bothered by this one because at least he's got a resume of being a linebackers coach all throughout the NFL. Like, I certainly think being Mike Borgonzi's brother probably helped him land this job here. But again, years of being a linebackers coach, the connection that you mentioned and that Hayden just mentioned in the chat to Aaron Whitecotton. So there's some continuity and chemistry between the defensive coaching staff. I think that matters too. You hit the nail on the head. Did nepotism play a role? Probably. But again, like the Ahmed Saleh one, making the leap from Wayne State to the NFL, it leaves me no room to say that nepotism didn't probably play all of the role in that. But a guy like Dave Borgonzi, who's been a linebackers coach at the NFL level for a number of years, yeah, nepotism helped, but he's definitely qualified for the role. Good, fine hire. It is what it is.
Those are the two I wanted to spend more time on just because there's been such a visceral reaction amongst Titans fans, whether you're immediately defending the nepotism or immediately criticizing the nepotism. Like, I wanted to just look at who these two guys are on their own merits. I think we did that. I'll quickly just talk about Dalton Hilliard because this one intrigues me. The Nichols coach. We heard there was going to be a dedicated Nichols coach. Who is he? Is he a guy who's worked with Nichols for 25 years? No, he is Dalton Hilliard. He is in his first, this will be now with the Titans, his first coaching job at the NFL level. He did coach under Jim Mora at UCLA as a graduate assistant for 3 seasons. He played football. He was a safety at UCLA, played for 4 years, went undrafted, tried out the training camp thing, got cut at the end of training camp, went to play overseas, went to play in Italy, and actually led Italy's seamen, not like men who are at sea men, Milano, to their first Super Bowl in 20 years. So this guy has some playing history, some championship pedigree. Again, he's never coached in the NFL, spent all his coaching time at the college level and also at like kind of smaller schools. But he was on a podcast, the Coach and Coordinator podcast, talking about the emphasis he puts on a growth mindset as he looks to develop the whole person, not just the player. He talks about his holistic player development techniques, including mental conditioning alongside physical skills. So an interesting guy, must have impressed in interviews. I couldn't find the actual connection to anyone on this staff, like how he knows.
I couldn't either. Sorry, I just couldn't either. That's interesting because I tried to do the same thing and I couldn't either. But, coached with Jim Mora for a number of years at UCLA and UConn as well, by the way. Recently accepted a role at Colorado State, like very recently, but is leaving it because this is a better opportunity, obviously. I'd love to know how Robert Saleh identified him, interviewed him, what impressed him. Not that I have anything against it. I don't know enough to have anything against it, but it's just interesting. I wonder how the path was created. I'll answer this question quickly from Hayden as we move on to the actual subject of this episode. Melo, how qualified does someone need to be to get a QC role? Listen, I get it, Hayden, but how many you ever heard of Madonna University? They don't typically come from Madonna University or Wayne State. That's the point. Like, that does not happen, period. From Wayne State, Madonna University, you better make the jump to like Wisconsin Whitewater, right? Like, we're talking like D2, John Carroll University, D3. Like, you don't make the jump from Madonna to the Tennessee Titans or from Wayne State to the NFL, period. Yes, it's a low-level role, but it's still in the NFL, right? Like, it's an NFL job. Obviously, this pathway, no denying, has been accelerated by being Robert Saleh's cousin. It's that simple.
Yes, that doesn't make him unqualified for the job, though, either. And again, 2 Bill Walsh fellowships. Like, a lot of people may not even know what that is. It's a big deal. So look into it if you don't know what it is. I think, Justin, you were right. I think you were right to say let's move on to Titans free agency approach. How should the Titans approach NFL free agency? This is, free agency conversations picking up steam. I want to get some questions, some chat conversations going here. So players you guys are interested in, any questions about free agency or how the Titans should approach it, let's get them in the chat. Justin and I want to riff off of those a lot, but I'll just start us off by saying I think the Titans need to be conservatively aggressive, which is definitely an oxymoron, but they need to pick their spots to be aggressive, no doubt about it. We've talked about it, Justin, and we got some episodes coming out next week where we're looking at specific players the Titans should target in NFL free agency. The Wan'Dale Robinsons, Romeo Doubs. Who else are we going to do next week? Breece Hall, maybe a couple other players. So there are a lot of guys that are going to be big name, big market guys. I've seen a lot of Titans fans begging the Titans to go after Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson and these like almost 30-something, $40 million a year or more defensive ends. Look, I'm like as excited about the Titans' future as the next guy. This is not the offseason to go sign a $45 million a year, 29 or 30-year-old defensive end. So when I talk about being aggressive, it's in the positions that you really need to Band-Aid. Corner, for example. We talked about this, was it yesterday? They need to go sign 2 corners, right? That has to happen. But defensive end, obviously they need some edge rushing help. They do not need Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson to be that edge rushing help. I really don't see Mike Borgonzi building the roster in that manner. That's where I'm at. That's how I'll start this conversation. Justin, turn it over to you, and I'll look through the chat here.
Yeah, there's a couple questions I'll answer there, but I think you hit the nail on the head. They've got to raise the floor of several positions, right? And we know they're going to. They've got the most cap space in the NFL, but they can't enter the NFL draft with what they have right now at edge, what they have at corner, what they have at wide receiver, things of that nature, right? And at corner, I think you and I are on the same page that they probably got to bring in 2 guys, right? Like, who in this corner room is going to be here next year? Marcus Harris and maybe Darrell Baker Jr., who's a restricted free agent. Like, that's it. None of those guys are acceptable starters on the outside. I don't even know for sure. We don't know for sure that Marcus Harris is an acceptable starter at nickel. We thought he looked pretty decent there in a relatively small sample size before they shut him down for the year. The corner room is the one that concerns me the most. I want to answer a bunch of comments, but one of the recent ones, Joe, the draft is deep at corner, so I'd rather sign 1 and draft 2. I don't know that I agree, Joe, because yes, as much as I think the draft is fine at corner, but it's actually better at edge and wide receiver, where the Titans have just as big holes. So if you ask me, I think they're better off addressing corner through free agency and saving the double dip, if you will, in the draft at edge and wide receiver, where everyone agrees, like even the national analysts agree, the 2 deepest positions in this NFL draft is at edge and receiver. It's not at corner. So I think you're better off being more aggressive at corner in free agency and kind of spreading out your resources that way.
Plus, rookie cornerbacks are notoriously bad. Like, you don't want to draft multiple players that you are going to have to end up starting. Like, sign your starters to be 1 or 2 year Band-Aids. Draft some guys in rounds like 3 through 7. Draft 1 in round 3 and 1 in round 6 or 5 or whatever. Like, you could draft multiple and sign multiple. I don't have a problem with that. They need to rebuild this entire room. Like, they have Marcus Harris and bodies right now, and maybe one of those bodies will be Darrell Baker Jr., who I think we talked about him yesterday. Somebody pointed out in the comments on that one that he does have a high tender tag that we forgot to mention. It's, I think, a $3.5 million tender if they do tender him as a restricted free agent. But that commenter also suggested, why not just sign him to like a 2-year, $6 million, $5 million deal, something like that. That's also an option. But I mean, they could also let him walk and just rebuild this room entirely with 2 free agent signings and 2 draft picks and Marcus Harris. And then you have 5 corners that you hopefully feel good about going forward. But you cannot draft 2 and then one of those guys is like a 5th round rookie starter. We just tried that. We just did that and it doesn't go very well. I wanted to hit this question here because Nathan Welsh asked it when we started the chat and he threw it back in again. How many seasons do you think it will take for the team to actually become competitive? It depends on what you mean by actually competitive. Is actually competitive like they're in most of their games, they win between 6 and 9 on the season, and they're not really like they're in the hunt graphic in week 13, but by like week 17 they're no longer on that in the hunt graphic? I think that's a realistic outcome for next year. Like I really do. I think if everybody hits the ground running, they could be a 7-10 team next year, show some real signs of progress. And if that does happen, then I would say 2027, when that new stadium opens, you got playoffs or bust on the mind. Like, that's the time. It'll be Cam Ward's third season. It'll be Robert Saleh's second year. Hopefully Brian Daboll doesn't get poached, and Cam Ward's entering the second year in Daboll's system, and you have a chance to build on the things you do in 2026. I think that's a realistic turnaround timeline. They can't be a 3-14 team again next year. They just can't. It's unacceptable. That's too bad. They need to show real improvement. But the roster still has a ton of holes. You're probably still going to be relying on a ton of young players and rookies next year. So there will be mistakes made. There will be fourth quarters where you blow a lead or something, or you just get run out of the building in a couple of games next year. Like, I still think that's going to happen. They're going to go through the growing pains of learning how to win. But as early as 2027, they should have their sights on the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Look, if all goes well this coming year, and they've got the resources, both free agency and the draft, to aggressively attack a lot of the holes and patch those up and improve the floor of this team and the roster in general. So I think the realistic expectation should be what the New Orleans Saints did this past year, kind of be like a 7-10 team, show a lot of promise. Like, that's probably realistic. But hey, a 7-10 team is 2 close wins away from being 9-8, right? And that's very competitive. That might even be, a postseason competition, right? If you're 9-8. So I think you got to set the realistic, hope at about 7-ish wins and say, hey, if things really go right, maybe they win 8 or 9, right? I think you've got to avoid, like Graver said, being that 3-4 win team again. And if you do win, just like the New Orleans Saints this coming year, if you win 7 games one year, then the following year you're aiming to win 10. Let's improve our win total by 3. And that would be in 2027 in the first year in the new stadium. And I think you're trying to make the playoffs, right, in that case. So for me, the realistic hope is, and the way they were playing at the end of the year indicated that they were a team that was trending towards maybe being able to win 3 or 4 more games the following year. I think that's the realistic hope, and say, hey, if they really nail the draft and free agency, maybe they could even be a little better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at teams like the Jaguars, the Bears, and the Patriots, right? Those are the 3 teams that you can point to say they were terrible, picking in the top 10 heading into 2025. And, what the Bears win 12 games, Jags win 13 games, Patriots win 14 games. Like, that turnaround is not necessarily it's not impossible. It could happen in a super amazing world. I think it's unrealistic to expect, though. I think the Jags roster especially was way ahead entering last year than where the Titans are right now. The Patriots wasn't necessarily, but the Patriots had the most successful offseason I've ever seen or heard of in my life in terms of every high dollar and low dollar free agent signing they brought in hit as a major contributor. Most of their draft picks as rookies hitting 5th round safeties, like guys that you don't expect to come in and start as a rookie, came in and gave them great snaps. And obviously they went all the way to the Super Bowl. The coaching, the change in leadership at the top, definitely a lot to do with it. And the Bears had a decent team. I mean, the Bears were a 6-win team under Matt Eberflus? Is that right? 4, 6, somewhere in that range.
Something along those lines, yeah.
They weren't the disaster that the Titans are. They mostly, their roster wasn't terrible. They mostly just needed competent, good coaching, and they got a massive upgrade, probably the biggest upgrade of anybody in terms of coaching. What Ben Johnson brought to that team to provide a schematic advantage, in addition to the emotional edge of just his attitude that he brought to the locker room. They rebuilt the interior offensive line with a lot of high-priced free agents and even traded for a player. They rebuilt some areas, but they also had a lot more talent on the offense than the Titans did. They had 3 good receivers already. They let Keenan Allen walk. They draft Luther Burden. They draft Colston Loveland. They already have DJ Moore, Roma Dunze. That team was ready to take the next step. 100%. The Titans need to go through one more building season before they can be ready to take that step like the Jags and Bears did.
And on defense, they had Montez Sweat. They had Jaquan Brisker. Jalen Johnson's a hell of a corner. There's one Kyler Gordon was the other corner that I was forgetting. They brought in the Tremaine Edmonds, I think the linebacker, right, a couple of years ago. So they had a really good roster in certain spots. I think the coaching upgrade from Ben Johnson, and then also, the step that Caleb took in year 2, which we're hoping for from Cam Ward. Same thing that Drake May did in New England. So I agree. You can't set your expectations, realistically to not a whole lot of teams do it, right? To what the Patriots, the Bears, and the Jags did this past year. And in all honesty, it was an anomaly, right? A year to see 3 teams do it the way they did it. But for me, yes, Ritmo, Kevin Byard was there as well. For me, again, I think the realistic improvement is kind of what the Saints did. But no reason it can't be even better than that if you nail free agency and the NFL draft.
Totally agree. We got a super chat here from Kendall the Yapper. Thank you so much, Kendall. Don't know if y'all are aware, we have the NFC East next year. Getting 2 to 3 wins against that division would be huge for the brand. Y'all are the best. Yes, we haven't talked much about that, but the Titans do have. I did mention it on a recent episode who they play.
Kendall, I think the only reason we know it is because the Giants are in the NFC East and they hired, John Harbaugh, a bunch of Titans coaches. We've all been looking forward to that matchup. So, aware that the NFC East is on the schedule. It's going to be fun to go up against Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson and John Harbaugh and Matt Nagy and Frank Bush in that game with the Giants. Then also, the Eagles, Commanders, always fun games. Certainly. Thank you so much for the super chat tip, Kendall. You're one of our most loyal viewers and listeners, especially on the Friday lives. We appreciate you joining. David Jenkins shouted out you, White Gravy. For putting up the comments on the chat. Yes, we love putting up the comments on screen here. And David, thank you for the latest one there.
I got a couple here, Justin.
So many good comments about the draft and free agency in here. I might I'll throw it to you first, but I want to run through rapid fire and address some of the ones, I'm sorry, that I don't necessarily agree with, specifically at the pass rushing spot.
Cool. Let me hit these 2 first really quick because they go together, and we missed it. This is like from 15 minutes ago now. Dalen B. I think an under-the-radar free agent signing could be a middle linebacker. Saleh has always had his guy at middle linebacker in San Francisco. He drafted Fred Warner in New York. He went and signed Mosley and Iron Grids to follow this up. Most obvious free agent signing nobody is talking about is Quincy Williams. He'll sign a cheaper 1-year prove-it deal with a coach who actually maximizes his strengths again. Now, Justin, if you remember, I tried to sign Quincy Williams during our mock offseason last Friday, but we were out of money. We didn't have enough money to also pay Quincy. We basically spent all the money. Maybe we went a little overboard last week. And you, Justin, we need to have a conversation because you seem to really think that Cody Barton is going to be back on this team next year. And I've seen, you reply, Justin does an amazing job. Sometimes I reply to comments, but like 95% of the time when you guys are going back and forth in the comment section of all of our videos, 95% of the time that's Justin responding to those comments. So shout out, Justin. I'm glad you do that. I really appreciate the time you take to do that. But you keep saying we really expect Cody Barton to be back next year. You might. I don't. I actually don't think Cody Barton will be back next year. I actually agree with both of these comments that
$3 million in cap savings for $7 million in dead money.
Yeah, but it's not about the dead money is a sunk cost because it's either $10 million in cap hit or $7 million in cap hit. It's not about how much of it is dead. It's about how much are you saving or how much have you already spent because you've already spent it. So you might as well save the $3 million you can. Cody Barton made a handful of plays at times last year, but for the most part, I thought he's not a guy that I want starting on a top-level defense. And maybe, he's a good locker room leader. He's a good culture guy. Maybe Robert Saleh will like him, and maybe you'll be right. But I actually totally agree that they're going to go try and sign a new, middle linebacker. Look, it's the quarterback of the defense, right? It's like the captain of the defense. Usually it's the guy with the green dot, usually the one calling the plays. That player being somebody that Robert Saleh knows well and somebody who knows Robert Saleh well and knows what Saleh expects from the defense and can help teach it to his other teammates. Like if Quincy Williams wants to come to Tennessee and sign a deal in the range of, I don't know, $10 million, how much is Quincy Williams going to get paid? $5 million a year?
Expensive, I don't think, because he lost his starting job this past year he was benched for a little while with the Jets. He ended up winning the job back, but that's usually after a couple games on the bench, but it's usually not a great sign for you heading into free agency. I'll say this, and I'm not trying to leave myself an out, because of how much Robert Saleh loves linebackers, I'm not willing to rule out that they make a move in free agency. Like, I get it. Like, he loves linebackers. He's really good at coaching and developing linebackers. And there's a pretty good one available, or a decent one available, who he had a lot of success with in Quincy Williams. So it wouldn't shock me if they signed Quincy Williams. I just don't know that it's a quote unquote necessity. I rather see them spend their resources elsewhere. And I don't think saving, like, even like your rebuttal, well, it's 10 million versus 7 million cap hit. So, like, it's not a big enough difference for me to be like, well, they've got to cut Cody Barton, right? Like, it's just, and listen, someone just brought up in the chat, maybe they keep Cody Barton and sign Quincy Williams. I mean, maybe. I don't think that's totally outrageous. Like, if the Cody Barton cap hit is small enough and the cap savings are minimal enough where you could justify keeping him, but making him compete for the starting job with someone that you bring in like a Quincy Williams. The one issue I have with that is I already want to see Cody Barton compete for the starting job with James Williams. Like, I like James Williams. He's still here. When he finally got a chance to play at the end of the year, it was very small sample size. He played really well when we were projecting him to play, like, if he ever got an opportunity. So I kind of like what they have at linebacker-ish. I agree. I don't think Cody Barton's like a high-level starter. But for me, it's just, I'd rather spend their resources elsewhere. Maybe James Williams takes a big step under Robert Saleh. I don't think they need to do something at linebacker, but maybe they do.
The thing is, you're going to have 3 guys on the field next year at the linebacker spot, not 2. It's not. It could be Barton, James Williams, and Cedric Gray, or it could be Barton, Cedric Gray, and Quincy Williams, and James Williams is your backup / special teamer. Or you cut Cody Barton, you sign Quincy Williams, Cedric Gray's your Sam, the one taking on block. He's kind of a small Sam, but who cares? He's your frontline run stopper.
Femi could play one of those roles, though.
Well, I've said Femi at the Sam many times. That's been like my think where he's going to be best suited, because I don't know if he's a true edge, but maybe he's a true edge. I don't know. Shout out to Iron Grids, by the way, who keeps correcting us on the Quincy Williams stuff. Iron Grids, check out his stuff. He's got a whole, he's got all the rosters constantly being updated. Check out Iron Grids' Patreon page if you're interested in that stuff, because he's very plugged into basically every roster in the NFL and a very dedicated Music City Audible subscriber, supporter. So thanks, Iron Grids. At Justified Takes, would you say that Reese would be an option to take at 4 if we pick up the other pieces in free agency? Obviously, Ohio State linebacker Arvell Reese. Justin.
I'm going to agree with Justified Takes here and disagree with Reiskell, who said Reese is not a good inside linebacker. I mean, we're talking about the guy maybe going number 2 overall. I'm a big fan of Arvell Reese. I am. I see what a lot of other people see, and some people don't on Titans Twitter. They've been talking bad about Arvell Reese. Well, and listen, I don't know if he's a full-time edge, and I don't know if he's a full-time inside linebacker. What I do know with 100% certainty is he's a really good football player. I think when you watch him rush the quarterback on tape, when he got those reps at edge, I totally see the path to him developing into a full-time pass rusher. I wish Matt Patricia made this conversation a little easier on us and gave him more opportunities to do it, especially at the end of the year when, for whatever reason, in the biggest games, he didn't do it at all. Like, he was playing a see-ball, chase-ball, off-ball role in the playoffs and all those big games. I thought he looked like a Micah Parsons, Abdul Carter type of capable of making that type of transition when he got reps to rush the passer. When I watch him at inside linebacker, the thing that gets me, and I've been doing this a long time, and I'm going to have some very exciting career news potentially next week about my NFL draft coverage, by the way. When I watch him play, okay, when I see how explosive he is, okay, how athletic he is, and the type of force and strength that he generates at the point of attack, the way that he shocks blockers back when he meets them, the first thing I said, and I wrote down in my scouting notebook, is it just doesn't really look like that for anyone else, does it? Like, there is just immediately to me, and it's especially when I see him meet blockers at the point of attack, the way he shocks them back so consistently at his frame, by the way, like he's generating way more force than you think he would when you just look at the frame. It just doesn't look like that. There's something special and rare about him. And that's why I love him. And that's why I do stand on the table for him as a NFL draft prospect in general. Now, if he's an off-ball linebacker, there's not a lot of value there at number 4. I get that part of the conversation too. But I think there's a good case to say that he might be the second best defensive prospect in this class. So to say that he's totally off the table at number 4, I think would be kind of silly. And listen, David, he might not be a full. I said that, right? Like he might be a linebacker at the next level, and I get the value conversation part of it. But I really, really like him as a player, and in a draft class like this, where there's a lot of questions about there's not a lot of top end talent. Every prospect has questions, every single one, and it's a weird draft, right? Some of the best prospects are safeties and running backs, and it's a weird one. I think it'd be weird or kind of silly to take Arvell Reese totally off the table.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about it, Justin, and it's been floating around Twitter and stuff. But first of all, are the 2 best players in the draft both from Ohio State, or the 2 best defensive players in the draft both from Ohio State?
Probably.
And number 2, I've brought it up a couple of times, and I'm going to keep bringing it up because I don't think that we should just assume anything with this pick. Caleb Downs is also an option. Like I don't know if anyone saw this.
Less of an option than Reese. That's where I am on that. I don't want.
Well, Reese has a better chance to go 2 or 3 than Caleb Downs does, in my opinion, because of positional value.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's if you're staring at David Bailey, Ruben Bain, or Caleb Downs, like the need is obvious. You're choosing the edge for need, but which of those guys could be a Hall of Famer? Which of those 3 guys has the best chance to be a literal Hall of Famer? And if that's the case, you take the potential Hall of Famer and you worry about making the pieces fit later. It's not like you're one piece away and you need to grab that edge. And if you grab that edge, you're going to be a 12-win team making noise in the playoffs. Like, no, you need to stock the talent with great players. Whatever position they play, they play. I planted my flag on Ruben Bain earlier in the week. And if they go edge, he's still my choice. But I think I'm going to be the one, maybe the one in Titans media, beating the drum for Caleb Downs. Like, take the unbelievable player.
I can't fully get there because of not just the position value, but because the Titans also have Amani Hooker and Kevin Winston. Like, that's where I struggle. Listen, the argument is similar. I have an easier time getting on board with Arvell Reese than I do Caleb Downs, because I think the pathway for Reese here, when it comes to being coached by Robert Saleh, when it comes to making an impact across the front 7, whether it's a Fred Warner-like role, whether he's rushing the passer, whatever it is, it's easier for me to get there than it is with safety at number 4.
I get it, but certain safeties can change the game, can literally change what you're able to do on defense, to the point where sometimes they give your not as good edge rusher another half second to get to the quarterback. Sometimes they're creating. Safety is the position that can create turnovers like no other, because they can be everywhere. They have the freedom. And while we're talking about Ohio State defensive players, Justin, Dalen B wants to know about Sonny Styles.
There's an audience of people out there that like Sonny Styles better than Arvell Reese. I'm not there, but I think Sonny Styles is probably a top 10 player in this draft. That's probably where I'll have him on my big board, like somewhere in the 8 to 10 range, if I had to guess. So I'm a big fan of Sonny Styles. I mean, he's electric on tape. Can't remember. I've watched a ton of games. I can't remember what game I just watched last week, where I was every Saturday, Sunday, folks, fun fact about me, I wake up and I scout prospects in the NFL draft. I do it every Saturday, Sunday morning. It's my designated time to do it. And I'll usually end up watching 3-4 players every morning. Like, I dedicate a huge chunk of time to doing it because it's an important part of my craft and it's an important part of what I do for my full-time role. I don't have to do it, but I love doing it and it makes me better at what I do. So I've watched a lot of Sonny Styles and I'm a huge fan. Again, I think he's a top 10 prospect in this draft. I like Arvell Reese. I think the risk is higher with Arvell Reese. I get that part of it, but I think the upside is higher as well. And I'm choosing to go with the upside, which is why I'll have Arvell Reese higher on my big board than I will Sonny Styles. But I've got them both in the top 10, so I love both of them.
Ohio State could have 4 players picked in the top 10 potentially if Cardinal Tate goes
I guess
too.
Tate is the 4th. Yeah, I'm like, absolutely.
Nathan is.
I still can't believe they didn't win. I mean, I thought they should have.
I know.
Won the championship, probably.
I can't believe it either. They were the most talented team. I think I don't know what happened. Nathan Smith is calling me out because apparently I have 2 flags. Yes, I planted my flag in Ruben Bain.
Got 2 hands.
I got 2 hands. Exactly. And plus, you know, I'm a Mavs fan, right? I got 3 flags because I got Cooper as well.
Hayden is downs. I would say Hayden to
Both.
answer your question.
All.
And I love answering.
He's everything.
He's everything. He can do it all. But I think the best way to use him, like when I think like which one the way I answer this question, which one has more value? Even though I think he could do everything, I think the guys that often end up as box safeties often can't do it on the back end. So I'm predicting that Caleb Downs should be used as a rangy ball hawk because he's so good at that. It adds more value to a defense. It's more likely to generate turnovers. And again, if you are drafting Caleb Downs, I think you're definitely using him in that role, not only because it provides more value, but because the second part of your comment here, I think Kevin Winston is a really good, young, promising box safety. So he's definitely a do-it-all guy. Caleb Downs, you would want to use him on the back end to maximize the value and how you're, deploying your personnel.
Look, I understand the argument that Amani Hooker and Kevin Winston are on the team, and you just signed Amani Hooker to a contract extension before last season, and you just drafted Kevin Winston Jr. in the 3rd round last year. But in the modern NFL, 3 safety looks are dominating. They're taking over. Look at Mike McDonald's defense. They draft Nick Emanwori with the pick the Titans traded out of last year, and their defense goes from, pretty good, solid, has great weeks, has bad weeks, defense to unpenetrable force, like best defense in football. So, and that was basically one player taking them over the top.
And all 3 of those safeties are on the field 100% of the time for them. Like Julian
exactly.
Love, Kobe Bryant, Nick Emanwori, they use all of them every single down when they were healthy this past year.
Not to mention, Amani Hooker has a very spotty history with injuries where he misses 2 games, 4 games, 6 games a season.
He's not coming off a very good year either.
He's coming off a down year. He's getting up there in age. Eventually, like he signed a 3-year extension last year, so he's going to go into the 2nd year of that. That tells me that I haven't looked at the contract, but you could probably get out of that contract after 1 year. You let Caleb Downs sort of soft transition into the NFL. He can play everywhere. You move him around. Hooker can kind of play everywhere, although he's better deep, and Winston can kind of play everywhere, although he's better in the box. But all 3 of these guys are fairly interchangeable. You can create some really interesting looks if you had all 3, and then Amani Hooker could leave after this season or get cut for cap savings or whatever, and bang, you have your future of safeties you just drafted in back-to-back years.
But some really good rebuttals in the chat, and I'm inclined to agree with them. Emanwori was a 2nd-round pick, right? He wasn't number 4 overall. And then when you look at the needs the Titans have in this draft, that's the one, like the premium needs at wide receiver, at edge, tough to swallow, And listen, this team has taken some non-premiums in recent years, right? Like taking a guard at number 11. At some point for this team to take the step forward that they've got to take, they've got to start stacking premium talent at premium positions. And that is not Caleb Downs only checks 1/2 of those boxes, most likely.
Okay, who's the premium talent at the premium position?
I really like Arvell Reese, even though he's a linebacker.
He's gone at pick 2.
Ruben Bain. I think I'm willing to say that Ruben Bain is a premium talent. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I'm there yet with David Bailey. I'm trying to get there the more that I watch, but I kind of like Ruben Bain better than I like David Bailey right now. It's really close. Like I'm not just saying it. I reserve the right to change my mind. Like I'm really close on both of them. But for me, I'm more convinced by Bain, despite the the size deficiencies, if you will. But that was a fair question and rebuttal on your part, because I don't think any of the wide receivers are premium talents. And all the edges have major questions. So it's fair to say maybe none of them are premium talents, right? Like, that's the fun part of this draft. Ruben Bain, he's got the size issues. David Bailey, I'm still getting around with how he plays on early downs, run stopping, things of that nature. I think there is like an anchoring and strength issue to David Bailey's game that does concern me a little bit. And I certainly think with Arvell Reese, obviously, we don't know what he's going to play. So there's a huge question there, too. Will Borgonzi have an issue with Bain's short arms? I mean, great question, Daryl. I wish I could answer it with a sense of definitiveness. I think a lot of NFL GMs, obviously, have thresholds they tend to operate from when it comes to length. And Ruben Bain is not going to check those boxes, right, from an arm length perspective when it comes to the threshold. I don't know that we have enough of a sample size on Mike Borgonzi as a general manager to say one way or the other for sure, right? Like, we could look at what was done in Kansas City, but there's always the wiggle room that he was the assistant GM or even lower level roles than that to say he might not have been the guy making those decisions, right? So TBD on how Mike Borgonzi feels about arm length.
Rayskull has a comment here that I would like to rebut against. Reese, Bain, Bailey will all have a larger impact on this team than drafting a safety at 4 and an edge from the second round. There are some... Look, how much is the drop-off?
Yeah, I'm with Graver, I already know, right?
Like, I don't think the drop-off from those top 3 edge rushers, who, again, they all have some sort of issue. Reese is like a role projection. Can he be a full-time edge? Bain has the short arms. Bailey cannot bend and isn't the most fluid athlete. They all have question mark and also run defense questions. Like the top of the second round guys also have question marks, but like they also have upside too. And again, there's another comment here I want to hit quickly while I'm on this point. With a team full of needs at premium positions, I would hate the Downs pick. When he's the best safety in the NFL to going into 2027, you're not going to hate it anymore. Literally, that's the guy. Like, did you guys see what? Who was it? Brugler who tweeted yesterday, or somebody else that tweeted yesterday that was like, "I'm asking scouts around the league. Caleb Downs is the best safety you've evaluated since," and the response he's getting is ever. Best safety prospect possibly ever.
Yeah, agreed. And that doesn't shock me. It really doesn't. I want to address this comment from Justified Takes because I do think the context here is a little bit important. And I get it. I get this line of thinking. Hutchinson had shorter arms in the standard. And listen, because of that, Jacksonville overthought it and they took Trayvon Walker instead. And it's a mistake. Aiden Hutchinson's the better pass rusher. No doubt about it.
Walker's developed into a pretty good player, but yes, I agree.
He's not as good as Aiden Hutchinson.
I agree.
Aiden Hutchinson's arms were over 32 inches, okay? 32 inches. That was 7th percentile, okay? Just over, I think it was 32 and 1/8, I believe. Ruben Bain's, I think, are not even going to hit 31. There's rumors that they're in the 30. We're talking like 0 percentile, essentially. So there is, you're not wrong, but there is still, think about it. Aiden Hutchinson's arms were highly questionable, and they're still like 1.5 to 2 inches roughly longer than Ruben Bain's. It's not apples to apples.
Yeah. You said earlier, this is funny. Will Campbell also has shorter arms, and he's a bust. Kidding. LOL, sort of.
I also, by the way, can I just, this is maybe stupid, but
yeah,
I'm struggling how to figure out how I want to transition or how I make, stupid thing to say. Like, how do I relish, I can't think of the word, we're live. Those two, like, I think it matters more, don't you? Like, I tend to put more stock in arm length at offensive tackle than I do at edge. It matters very much for both. Is that a stupid thing to say? But it bothers me more at offensive tackle.
So here's the thing, and the thing about arm length is if you have longer arms, if you are late with your hands getting out of your punch or out of your stance or into your punch as an offensive tackle, having longer arms allows you to be later. And Will Campbell already has an issue being a little bit late. So having shorter arms while also not being on time as much with his punch it's like a compounding issue. Whereas if he was really early and quick with his hands, it wouldn't be that big a deal that he has short arms. Ruben Bain has an incredibly fast get off, explosive player, really athletic and bendy for his size. I mean, he's a thick boy who can really bend. And I don't know how much the arm length, because he gets up into your body so quickly with so much power that he doesn't need
so much power.
He doesn't need his arms to be 2 inches longer.
I think with tackle, like when you're playing the defensive position, because you're in the defense mode there. When you're late, as you said, with your hands, and you don't have you literally don't have the length to reach an edge rusher. If you're late or miss with your hands, whatever, that's a problem, right? That's a bigger problem. That's, I think, what I was trying to say. At the same time, Will Campbell's arms still about 2 inches longer than Ruben Bain's. That's I only to point out. That's why it's going to be a conversation, right, on the edge rushers.
And you know what's crazy is that Bain actually uses the long arm move at times. This is a comment from Ray School. Short arms at edge removes the long arm move. Like you'll see Bain go one arm stab right into the shoulder and just like plow through a guy. Back to free agents, David wants to know. Yeah, what are we doing? We're in a draft conversation right now, Justin.
Well,
we're going where the chat.
And you guys seem to have more questions about the draft.
Wherever the chat takes us, that's how the Friday show goes.
I'll take us back to what I was going to address earlier. Throw some a wet blanket on some of the comments that I disagreed with much earlier. Sorry, guys, I hate doing it. Sometimes I do it. Like Trey Hendrickson, and I know you're with me. Max Crosby. I saw someone mention Bosa. Who's the other guy I wanted? Caribbean Daniel. You mentioned Jalen Phillips. I'm out on all four of those guys. And the first three we could group together because they're all like aging assets who are a combination of expensive and close to falling off a cliff. The Titans, I love Max Crosby, but like it's going to be a contender that makes that move, right? An instant contender. How many great years does he have left? Probably not a ton. How impactful is he in the new stadium? Probably not that much. Maybe in the first year. By the second year in the new stadium, I don't have faith that Max Crosby at 30 years old right now has 3 years left of elite level production. Bosa, I don't even think is worth commenting. Hendrickson, I don't even think is worth like these guys are too old for a team like the Tennessee Titans to make that move. When it comes to Jalen Phillips, the injury history scares the crap out of me. I mean, he medically retired in college. And since then, he's had a season-ending, I think it was ACL injury, or ACL or Achilles. It was one or the other for the Dolphins.
Good question. I think it was Achilles.
So for me, Jalen Phillips scares the crap out of me based on the injury history. So at edge, I've been where I've been the whole time. It's like a Kwity Paye, a Boye Mafe. Who was the other guy, Graver, that we had mentioned on here a couple times?
Odafe Owe?
Odafe Owe is a big one if he actually hits the market. I think Draymond Jones is maybe one of the lower level guys you could think about bringing back. It's funny, as Rice School just mentions both of them in the chat, Odafe Owe or bring back Draymond Jones. I love both of those options, but I also like Kwity Paye and potentially Boye Mafe is like maybe a low level option.
The Bosa conversation to me is just like, why? I get it. He had, effective points throughout the year. Caribbean Daniel had 50-plus pressures last year. Will be awesome in the locker room. You got to think not just like, again, and this is not a diss on anybody. We disagree here. Why would Joey Bosa choose to come to Tennessee? For Robert Saleh because his brother played for Saleh in San Francisco? I mean, that's a pretty big stretch of a reason. Like, these guys want to win Super Bowls and get paid. So they're going to go to the combination of highest paycheck and best chance to win a Super Bowl. And a lot of these guys like Joey Bosa went to Buffalo to try to go win a Super Bowl. It's most likely going to go back to Buffalo or go to another team where he really thinks he can go win a Super Bowl. The Titans are not winning the Super Bowl in 2026. I mean, I say that.
Yeah, like it's going to be Buffalo or San Fran or the Eagles for Bosa. Like, I could totally see the Eagles who need some help at edge too.
Even like the Cowboys are a team that like had a really good offense last year, but needs help on defense and feels like one or two pieces away. Like I could see them choosing a team like that. The Bears, like teams that were actually
Cowboys, Bears.
good last season, not a 3-win team. He's not
gonna
coming
be
to a
those
3-win
guys.
team. Neither is Trey Hendrickson. Neither is Max Crosby. Max Crosby's lived his whole life in the NFL on a terrible Raiders team. He's not going to want it. Even I know it's about trading, but he's going to be able to approve where he gets traded to because they're going to need to sign him to a new contract. He's not coming to these guys are not coming to Tennessee. The Titans need to.
You just said
Crosby.
Oh yeah, agreed. I
The Titans need to
making the move for Crosby.
I think he would be a great fit in New England. But what the Titans need to do is draft and develop their own one of these guys, which, Graver, you've been talking nonstop about Caleb Downs. If they need to draft and develop one of their own guys and they need to draft Bain or Reese or Bailey, maybe. Or, I haven't dug my head into the second round guys yet, but I'm aware of what the class looks like, and I know that there is talent there in the second round too. We're back on the draft, Justin. How did I do that? I didn't mean to do that.
David Jenkins, answer that, Melo. It's AJ wanting to come back. I'm assuming is this in relation to AJ Brown, David? Listen, I mean, I don't think the Titans are trading for AJ Brown. Would I love to see it? I'm not going to lie. I kind of would. AJ Brown and Cam Ward. I mean, I'd be lying if I wouldn't sign up for that. I just, based on the compensation, I don't think Titans are going to want to give up the draft pick. And, he probably wants to let sleeping dogs lie and go somewhere else if he is leaving Philly. And maybe it's another contender. But AJ Brown, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm above AJ Brown to the Tennessee Titans. I also saw a question about Malcolm Kuntz, the free agent edge rusher. I'm intrigued, but it's a bit of a reclamation thing, right? Because he had a really good year. I'm trying to get my years right in 2023, and then he tore his Achilles right before 2024. He missed that whole year. He came back this past year, and he looked like a guy who was coming off an Achilles, right? Like he looked all right. He looked capable of maybe getting back to that form that he had in the breakout year in 2023. But there's a bit of a reclamation risk there. I'll give you another name for reclamation. And Graver, Will Lomas wrote an article for Titan Sized about a week ago. And I give Will a ton of crap, but I thought this was an interesting shout. Trading for Jermaine Johnson, the Jets edge rusher, who's in the final year of his rookie contract, broke out under Robert Saleh once upon a time as his first round pick. Also, this past year was coming off an Achilles injury. So tore his Achilles against the Titans. I'll never forget in that week 2 Jets win over the Titans in Brian Callahan's rookie season.
Yeah, with
bit of a reclamation guy because again, coming off the Achilles this past year. But I imagine we're talking about trades. Trading for Jermaine Johnson, I mean, would it cost more than a fifth? That's the only reason I'm even willing to entertain it. Like if he's on a rookie year, the expiring contract, they don't see him coming back. That's an interesting name to me because he played so well under Robert Saleh once upon a time.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of continued to believe that Mike Borgonzi is not going to trade for anyone because of how he spoke about valuing the draft picks. But if we're talking about a 5th rounder in a draft where they already have multiple 5th rounders, I could totally see that, especially if Robert Saleh vouches for like the football character, if he can add to the locker room culture. I don't know anything really about Jermaine Johnson, if he does or doesn't. Would he be like a Jarvis Brownlee or like a Jeffrey Simmons?
He's a fired up He flamed me on Twitter a year or two ago. I don't know if you remember. Hilarious.
I do remember that.
But I had a great interview with him before that. I absolutely he's a fired up energy, team first, really passionate guy. I don't think there's any. I could confidently say there's no attitude issues. I'm gonna say something I normally never say. I normally never do. And Caribbean Daniel, I don't blame you. Out of the 1,000 NFL players that I have interviewed throughout my career, I would rank my Kayvon Thibodeau experience as one of the worst by far.
I'm so glad you said that. I have a story too. You want to keep going, and then I want to.
By far, I had a bit of an experience with him at Oregon. I won't get into that because he wasn't really at fault for that one per se. But I thought he had really strange demands when he was at Oregon, and then I interviewed him when he was already in the NFL with the New York Giants. And it was probably the worst experience I've ever had. If I had to name like 25 guys in the NFL that Mike Borgonzi would absolutely not sign up for, Kayvon Thibodeau's on that list.
I've met Kayvon Thibodeau 3 times. I met him the night he was drafted. We interviewed him on Around the NFL. I met him a week before he was drafted. He came into the studio for Around the NFL. And 2 months after he was drafted, he was touring around NFL offices and popped into the studio, and we got him on the podcast for a 3rd time. He is the biggest D-head that I have ever met in the NFL.
You're going further than I'll go.
I mean, look, Heed the Call. If there's any Heed the Call listeners in this chat right now, or listening on playback, they know that. They know we've talked about Kayvon Thibodeau. They know he was extremely arrogant, extremely full of himself. Had I don't even want to get into some of the other criticisms that I had of him. I can't imagine, like you said, I can't imagine Mike Borgonzi wanting that guy in this locker room now while they're trying to build something. On top of having to trade a relatively high draft pick for him, probably a day 2 pick for him, and give him a new contract. Like,
I don't even think the Giants like him, to be blunt, because I don't think they go out and get Brian Burns. Like when they went out and got Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, he was already on the roster. I think they're going to move on from him at some point, and good luck to whoever. He's a very talented player, no doubt about it. I mean, double-digit sack guy. I mean, you got strong. The Ravens, the Steelers, strong locker room culture. Think you could manage the personality. You're close to winning. I mean, someone's going to make that move, no doubt. He's a very, very talented football player, but it won't be the Tennessee Titans.
All right, Justin, I want to wrap this thing up here. We've been going over an hour. LCT 3303 asks, can we just get to the tampering already? March 9th. 3 weeks from Monday is the day. We are going to be there before you know it. I mean, shoot, Justin, I don't know if we have time to do all the pods that we want to do between all the topics we want to hit between now and then. It's going to be tough, but I'll let you wrap this up with any final words, any final thoughts. We appreciate everyone for tuning into the chat. Remember to like the stream. Like, smash that like button. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Stay after the stream ends. Leave a comment below. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hope you like the new look. Hope you like the new intro music. We're going to have the same outro music because that's copyright free, so we're good there. No changes on that front. Justin, final word to you.
Yeah, Nathan, Melo, the streets want to know what you think about the new J. Cole album. Nathan, I like it. I think the criticism is unfair. I know a lot of people are complaining about the production, but I think he's always been a guy that tends to prefer minimalistic beats because he wants his lyrics to kind of shine. He's a lyricist first and foremost. I like the J. Cole album. I've really enjoyed it. It's on the longer side, obviously, as a double disc. But I've listened to it now, I think 3 times front to back. Going to be doing a couple more listens. I love J. Cole. I do like the new album.
Off Season is his best album. Any news on the MCA?
No, Forest Hills Drive is is his best album.
Okay, if you want to go, I really liked Off Season.
I loved Off Season too. I think it's his second best. I thought it was very underrated. I thought it was better than the first album was disappointing. The second one I think is a little Born Sinner. I think the second one's okay. It's not bad. For Your Eyes Only, I think it was by far his worst album, not even close. But Forest Hills is number 1, Off Season number 2. I think this new one might be number 3.
Okay, I'll give you that. Iron Grids wants to know any news on the MCA base name, Audible Army, Audiblers, Cadence Crew from Caribbean Daniel, Hershey Forever wants to know MCA base name. Yeah, I mean, if Arizona Ray Skull, Will Levis to Arizona for number 65 or 104, either if they want to give up a pick that high, yeah, absolutely, you can have Will Levis.
Listen, Ray Skull, if Arizona trades the 65th pick for Will Levis, I will get a tramp stamp tattoo of your full government name. If the Titans could get the 65th pick in this, I'll get a lower back tattoo of your full government. There's no way the Titans are getting a 65th pick for Will. I mean, that would be mind-blowing.
But anyway, yes, the Audible Army, Audiblers, I think we should settle this next week. Well, not next week. Next week, I'm pretty much out of town. So newsflash and spoiler alert, we've pretty much pre-taped most of next week's pods. That reminds me, Justin, to announce we will not have a live stream next Friday. I am going on a trip for my wedding. It's not my wedding, but it's part of the. You guys know
But we'll still
how
have
this
a
thing.
pod. It's important to distinct that. We're not going to leave you guys hanging too much. Instead of having a live stream Friday, we decided to record a podcast. So you'll still have all 5 days next week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Full week of pods. Just won't be a live stream on Friday.
Right. And then following that, when I get back from my trip and when Justin and I are back on this thing together, we will settle it. I will put a poll up on our YouTube like community tab page of our YouTube page so that it's only you guys and we don't have like people on Twitter who don't even listen to the podcast like chiming in and like voting in the poll. No, I want it to be our YouTube audience deciding what their name is, but also the audio audience. So audio audience, if you're listening to this, head over to the YouTube page to vote. A week from Monday, we'll get that going. That is what, the 23rd? So we'll come back to that. Thanks for the shout out and the reminder though, Iron Grids. Yes, we will get that. Okay. Anything else? Where am I going? I'm going to Broken Bow, Oklahoma with 18 of my closest friends. So it will be
what is there?
Quite a weekend. Cabins and woods. And it's going to be...
Are you a big cabin woods guy?
Not really, but we wanted to... Okay, it's a batch weekend. We're combining bachelor and bachelorette parties into one weekend. All the groomsmen, all the bridesmaids, and all their significant others are going to a cabin together. And we're going to have a weekend of debauchery and fun. And
listen, I'm not a big cabin guy. I'm not a big woods guy, but my buddy owns a cottage. And one of my favorite things to do is go up to the cottage for the weekend and get drunk and other nefarious things for the weekend, right? Like just drinking and eating my body weight in smoked meat and things of that nature is like my favorite pastime, maybe.
We're doing a murder mystery night with all 19 people participating, which is gonna be really cool. We're doing
before you said that, I don't think you'd agree.
Seems like the setup for a horror movie. Yeah, it's perfect. We're doing murder mystery night. Someone's getting murdered on the first night, and then we have this quintathlon thing set up where it's like it's like Beer Olympics meets bachelorette party games. So we got a couple of drinking games in there. We got like how well do you know the bride and groom trivia, where like they're all divided into teams and we stand up and ask questions, and then like karaoke without the lyrics, which is just going to be hilarious to watch people stumble through. It's going to be fun. It's going to be super cool. There's no whitewater rafting, Nathan, but Nathan's going to be whitewater rafting in May. So that is going to be sick. Hope you have a good time. And that'll do it, Justin. Close the show. What do we got? What anything left to say?
I can't remember first he's Canadian. He must be, because he said Muskoka mode. Muskoka is where we all tend to go for our weekend getaways for the cabins and the cottages and all that. But we'll be back early next week, Monday, with a new podcast all week talking Tennessee Titans free agency. We are going in on potential targets, wide receivers, you name it, edge rushers, running backs, corners. We got a whole bunch of great episodes planned for you guys, centered around the Titans' potential free agency plans. Until Monday, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.